Hello, my name is Ethan Besner, and today we'll be talking about the good, the bad, and the history of politics and sport. So, one of the first ever examples of politics and sport in the United States was in April of 1947 when Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier, becoming the first African American in the Major League Baseball. He was met with a lot of backlash from players, fans, and owners, calling him racial slurs and oftentimes throwing trash at him. What's interesting is the reason we have politics and sport today is a lot because of racial issues. Those very similar to those we've seen in 1947. So looking at the modern era, an example of this would be Colin Kaepernick. So during a 2016 NFL game, in protest of oppression of African Americans in the United States, Colin Kaepernick kneeled during the national anthem. Although he's not in the league now, he still makes millions of dollars from Nike because of his heroism, and deciding to be brave and stand up for what he believes in. That's one of the reasons people believe he's not in the NFL anymore is because he's seen more as a political figure instead of a quarterback. Now, with the death of George Floyd, along with Colin Kaepernick, Black Lives Matter way has been in sport much more than we would ever expected. In the NFL, players now have plates on the back of their helmets with sayings having to do with racial injustice, such as "end racism." Players will now oftentimes stay in the locker room or kneel during the national anthem to show that they're in unity and they're sick and tired of what's happening in the country. Markings are oftentimes on the field, such as Black Lives Matter, to show that they're in support. And over $250 million was spent by the NFL for BLM issues. Now, when you look at the NBA, it's very similar. There was custom names on the back of jerseys, such as the one below saying "How many more?" This gave players a chance to represent what they believed in personally. Players are oftentimes also kneeling during the national anthem to show unity. There's an alternate national anthem being played for the NBA. Oftentimes there's just a guitar riff. There was never anyone ever singing. And there's oftentimes markings on the court, such as Black Lives Matter, to show that they're in unison. What's also interesting is during this time, doing the norm is seen as protest. So a famous guard in the NFL, Alejandro Villanueva, was one of the only players on the Steelers to stand during the national anthem while the rest of his team was in the locker room. A quote from him was, I'm always going to stand for the national anthem. I have to be real with myself and understand that the reason I'm playing here, the reason the Steelers got me here, is because I served in the military. What was interesting was he was benched the following game by his coach, Mike Tomlin, and was later forced to give a statement by the Steelers' public relations team. Another example of this in the NBA is Myles Leonard. He stood for the national anthem, but it was for a different reason. He wanted to show that he could be a patriot and support his country while also supporting BLM and being an ally for his teammates. There's oftentimes backlash from politics and sports. Oftentimes, reporters will go after players for what they say and believe in. Laura Ingraham, a famous Fox News reporter, told LeBron James to shut up a dribble because of he said he was oppressed in the country. Contradiction also plays a huge role. So the NBA is very close with China, and China has very bad child labor and low wages. And also Nike is very close with China, who is the NBA's leading supplier in merchandising and things like that. So although they're repping the jerseys and the shoes, there's no representation for those in China who are creating the products and who are oftentimes children or have low wages. When it also comes to the NBA, they've seen ratings drops. The NBA's ratings have been down over 40% since the BLM movement because one example of this that shows that the ratings are down is the Harrison poll. Respondents say they don't want to watch the league anymore because it's becoming too political to watch. People use sport oftentimes as a way to escape reality, and they can't be doing that anymore because it's so politicized. So now here's the final statement, and basically what the whole point of this presentation is does the good outweigh the bad? So what sports does is it gives all these athletes a platform to speak. And they've been doing a lot of good with it. For example, Colin Kaepernick, who kneeled. So he created a foundation with the primary focus of fighting oppression through education and social activism. He's done many good things, like investing money into anti-police brutality, youth incentives, and community reform. The NBA and NFL have also been investing a lot of money. The NBA created 40 new grants totaling $20 million to create employment opportunities and further career advancement for African Americans. And the NFL has invested over $250 million into the BLM and underdeveloped communities. So that's where the question comes, is it worth it for the the NBA to do this? Yes, the ratings are down, but they believe what they're doing is right. And no matter what happens ever, there's always going to be politics in sport because of the fact that it is so big, and it gives people a chance to express what they like. So thank you for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something new.